Hi and welcome to the Agency Bud podcast. Tap into each episode at podcast.agencybud.com. Agency Bud is the platform that increases your revenue by providing software that you can on-sell to your clients in a reseller model. Tap into agencybud.com and increase your bottom line. On the Agency Bud podcast, we talk to CEOs, founders, startups, anybody successful and amazing about the challenges they've overcome and the lessons they've learned along the way. Let's go and meet today's special guest. Today on the show, we have Alyssa Young. Now, Alyssa is the Vice President and the Director of Digital Marketing at Kickcharge Creative. She's got an incredible background and she's worked with industries from healthcare, from local trades, from building, through finance, through insurance. Her brands can be seen on the streets of New York. She's got a fantastic reputation for branding, vehicles, for redesigning brands, redesigning logos, creating something that drives businesses forward. The website itself, which is kickcharge.com, is actually filled with success stories of businesses that have grown as a direct result of their work with Kickcharge and with Alyssa specifically. Alyssa, I'm so grateful for your time on a stormy day where your basement is flooded. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now, we were just talking before we kicked off the recording side of things. You've had a bit of a dramatic day so far.
A little, yeah. We had a major storm in our area, and while I was blessed to never lose power today, within a 3-hour span this afternoon, my basement took on some water.
Oh my goodness.
My husband and children are downstairs with the shop vac and buckets as we speak. So thank you for getting me out of the cleanup duty. Because
nice, fantastic. You can stay with us as long as it takes. And, you know, when they come up and they say it's all done, we'll wind up and you can say, phew, just in time.
Perfect.
Fantastic. Well, so long as everybody's safe and dry, that's the main thing. Are you working from home during this crazy pandemic times, or is it, you know, you're working from home? Okay.
We're all working remotely, and it's worked out actually very smoothly. We all take turns answering the phone. So our office phone number gets forwarded to one person on our team every day, and then we pass along the messages. But since we're so used to doing everything, you know, electronically and virtually already, it's really been a pretty smooth transition. We are looking forward to being together again in the office and looking to maybe do that in another month or so, but it's not, you know, nothing concrete yet. We're still trying to just be careful. It's not worth risking, you know, anybody's health or the operations. It's better that we all stay safe and sound and keep doing what we're doing. Absolutely.
So there's about 20 of you in the team at Kickcharge, is that right?
That's right.
Cool. So you've all gone remote. How have your clients been affected by that? Were you used to doing Zoom meetings and web catch-ups with them, or have they had to adjust as well?
Yeah, I don't think anything's really changed for our clients. I mean, it's pretty rare that we would have people stopping by in person anyway. It happens occasionally, but we use, you know, online, web-based software to communicate with them already. Yep. It's funny, I actually, since this started, I've had more video meetings than I ever had before. Oftentimes we were just on like a conference call, like audio only. Yeah. And now I'm seeing people on video more so than I ever had in the past. So it's actually kind of nice.
It is nice, and you can put a face to a name and a face to a voice. Do you know, it was funny, I was reading somewhere the other day that one of the freelancing gigs that has taken off more than any other is the creative Zoom backgrounds. So people want that amazing Zoom background, and that gig on Upwork or on Fiverr or whatever has gone through the roof. If you're a talented Zoom background designer, you're in your element right now. So your clients have kind of had to adjust. Have you seen? We're going to get into Kickcharge in just a minute and your background and how all that came together. I know you've got a background in TV, so I'm interested and fascinated by that. But your clients, have you seen? I know you do a lot of kind of local trades, local businesses and that kind of stuff. Have you seen your clients been impacted heavily? Have they turned to you for help?
They have been blessed to still be considered essential businesses.
Cool.
So while a lot of, you know, retail outlets and other organizations had to stop operations, our clients have been able to keep doing business for the most part unaffected, as far as what they can and can't do. There have been a few exceptions because every state has its own rules right now.
Sure.
But for the most part, everyone's still been able to go out and service air conditioning units and fix plumbing problems and electrical problems. And it's interesting because people now being at home more than ever, their home comfort systems are even more important than ever. So our clients have been keeping very busy. They've just needed to kind of adjust their protocol and get that PPE that they, couldn't get their hands on and figure out some stuff. I think some of my clients, like they usually operate 24/7. They've had to scale back a little bit just because of manpower issues and working remotely, some challenges, but for the most part, they really haven't missed a beat. And, I'm happy for them and proud of them that they've been able to keep going, keep their employees, working and making sure they're servicing their communities. So we've been blessed that our clients are mostly in that sector because we've been busier than ever too. Everybody's really just focusing on doing their best, and they know that if they fall into the background right now, it could hurt them in the future. I think homeowners and even business owners who are looking to these companies for help, the ones that are there for them even now during these challenging times, maybe they'll even develop a greater loyalty to them and build a relationship with them. So we want our clients to be ready, and we're doing everything that we can to help them. I've seen more, and they've been turning to us more and more for messaging that needs to go out, about
keeping that brand like front and center and, managing that kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. I saw a quote. My first business online success was selling advertising. And I saw a quote that said, when times are good, businesses advertise. When times are bad, they have to. And so we've been talking to marketing agencies and agency owners for the last few months. And as awful as it is that somebody's benefiting, the marketing world has seen a boom because people are going, help us. We're not getting that kind of word of mouth. We're not getting that face-to-face, that walk-in traffic that we used to. How do we use Facebook? How do we use YouTube, LinkedIn? How do we get digital and get creative? So there has been a bit of a plus on that side, and I know a lot of people are hurting. So, and I feel that, but at the same time, all of these agencies like KickCharge are helping people recover and moving forward. So tell me, Alyssa, how did you get started in KickCharge? Like, what was the journey that you went through? I know that you've kind of grown with the company to fulfill that VP role now. But how did you get into the marketing space, into that kind of digital world?
Yeah, it's actually kind of an interesting evolution. I started out as a kid, like 5th grader, wanting to go into broadcast journalism. So one of my teachers started a TV studio in my elementary school.
Wow.
And the gifted program that I was in, we got to be the first ones to try it and use it. And I fell in love with it. And you couldn't drag me out of that TV studio. I wanted to do every job. I wanted to be on camera, behind camera, write the scripts. I was so into it. And that year, then President Bush came to our community to speak, and we got to cover it with the real news crew. We were out, on the stands with next to Channel 3 and Channel 6 from Philadelphia, and I thought it was the coolest thing. So that, from then on, journalism was just that was my mission. And I created a neighborhood newspaper that I distributed for 24 months in a row, and my subscriber base grew. I was all into journalism. So I studied as much as I could and did as much as I could through middle school, high school. I went to Syracuse University in Syracuse, New York, and I majored in broadcast journalism and finance with the goal of going into being a producer at CNBC, or maybe even the next Maria Bartiromo. That was my dream there. But while I was studying at Syracuse, I did some internships and things, and I did love the TV news. My local newspaper offered me a great internship, and I kept going back there every summer. And I was interning at the newspaper, and they kind of couldn't get rid of me. So they lured me back after I graduated because there were so many things about it that just fit for me as a next step. Even the pay was better than what a TV station was going to pay me right out of school. Right. And I was actually I was engaged to be married, 6 months after, not even 6 months after graduation. So we needed to figure out what we're going to do. So I went to the newspaper full time as a reporter, a beat reporter, and I covered my hometown. And I loved that. And then when my son was born, I was still being a reporter. I was working part-time and from home for a little bit. And that's when the newspaper needed to evolve its online presence and start updating the news online during the day. So it used to just be static links to print stories. And the parent company was saying, you need to be posting breaking news. So it was at that time I was kind of getting bored with my job, and the editors said, hey, like, this is an opportunity. Do you want to be the first person in this role? So I said yes, and I stepped into being like the online news editor. And that job grew and evolved, and we ended up launching a whole new website and became online first. And so during that job, I learned web, I learned SEO, a lot of things. And it was kind of, we learned as we went, but we also had some guidance and some training from the parent company, because they were doing this at newspapers across the country. So I had some good mentors there. And it was, we did so many really, really cool things. And I was really proud of the work I did at the paper, because it was really groundbreaking at the time. And I learned a lot, and I had to teach everyone else, this is our new process. This is our new tool. So I left the newspaper at a good time, because things were really starting to shift with revenue, and started doing furloughs and things. And I could kind of see the writing on the wall, and I was like, and it was also very stressful. It was 24/7 news cycle. So I had kids, and it's like, I should really move on from here. So I went to Lehigh Valley Health Network from there. And my job there taught me something else that was new. I went there with the intent to help build a new website, and my responsibility was the website content. And I'm, primarily a writer with my journalism background. So I was using those skills to get the website in good shape, and then update the blog on the Health Network website. And I had this whole mission of people who need health care or having some kind of health problem should be able to get the information that they need and feel, that they're in good hands and all that stuff. So it was a rewarding job. There is where I learned marketing. Okay. So the newspaper, it was like journalism, and it was web, and it was SEO. But I became part of a marketing department for the first time when I worked at LVHN. So that taught me about brand, and it taught me about just different functions and working with another agency and things like that. So I was there for 3 years. The corporate environment just really wasn't my gig. Like, it's very different than a newspaper newsroom. So I had this opportunity to come to Kick Charge Creative after that. And at the time, Kick Charge was called Graphic Designs. And I had a job of managing digital projects. So really meaning companies coming to us to build a new website, I would manage the project, but I also had some content involvement. And I think I really was in that role for only a year when the person who was managing digital marketing, SEO and PPC campaigns and stuff, she moved on. And my, Dan Antonelli, who's our president and creative director, and a couple other folks on the team decided we were going to partner with another agency to manage SEO on behalf of our clients. And I said, you're going to need somebody to manage that, and I think I can do it. So I kind of stepped up and said, I would like to take ownership of this and be that manager and that liaison between, this agency that we're going to kind of get their expertise involved, and then our clients. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So it's been more than 4 years managing those responsibilities. And about 2.5 years ago is when I became a vice president. And so part of that job entails helping oversee the direction of the agency. Fantastic. And really working on the business. So cool. So I also oversee the content team, and we do, besides those digital marketing campaigns I mentioned, we manage social media, we manage email marketing, we write lots of stuff from brochures and door hangers to websites. We name companies, we do taglines. So that's all that stuff that's under my department.
Fantastic. That's a really cool evolution. I think the passion for journalism and news, and then kind of evolving as even as digital content has evolved itself. I noticed that you're a prolific blogger. Like, that was something that obviously being a writer has kept that strategy with you. And of course, that's been new. I'm of the era when all of this kind of social media and web 2.0 kind of stuff was new. And we've all had to evolve as that those platforms have evolved themselves. And now, of course, we're moving into creative instant content, newsfeed kind of live video, that kind of stuff, which is, again, another evolution. And you can almost see the decentralization of journalism going from one particular company out to the world as stories are reported, and fascinating stuff. So, Alyssa, as you're growing and as you're evolving, you're learning this stuff as you're going through. Are you finding that the people coming into your team now, like the I hesitate to say the next generation, but the kind of the people where digital media has been the norm, are you finding that they're coming into Kick Charge, into the world, into the environment with those skills and knowledge already? And is that a threat to people who have had to learn as we've gone? How do you feel about those guys coming through?
It's actually really remarkable, because I remember when our parent company, the newspaper, was starting to get us all into using social media to promote our reporting, to promote our stories. And we were like resisting that. We thought that was weird. We didn't
I don't want to talk to my friends about what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, why do we need to post this on Facebook? What,
right.
And I didn't even have my own personal Facebook account yet at that point. I was kind of like holding off, and they were trying to explain to us how it works and why. And now it's a part of every reporter's routine. They're trolling Facebook for stories. I mean, so yeah, I've seen that evolve, and now younger people, I should say, who are coming in are not only already proficient in that language, and they're comfortable using it, but they're also learning about it in school sometimes.
Yeah,
which,
absolutely.
Again, like social media, I don't think those words were ever spoken in my curriculum at the Newhouse School when I went to Syracuse University.
Definitely.
But now they've really, like, educators have had to evolve, and I think a lot of this stuff is just naturally, they're naturally picking up, and it's been refreshing. It's not a threat. It's actually helpful. Like, I have a couple of people on my team who have been in this business, writing with journalism backgrounds more specifically for a long time. And the younger people on my team who are coming in with that, just foundation of the newer technologies and stuff, they're helping each other. So we've got, the experience on the other side that can educate the newer writer, and then the newer writer saying, here's something, a trick I know, or, something
Nice.
that might help you get this. And I mean, they have a great team. They work together so well, but I find that those kinds of skills are really complementing each other.
Very cool. Awesome. So as your team is growing, and if I can just stay on content marketing just for one or two more questions, the clientele that you're working with, like, as I look at your portfolio, you've got people in the health space, the insurance space, and finance space, which I kind of assume, I guess, to be a little bit more digital savvy. Whereas moving into the local trades, plumbers, electricians, and building companies, those kind of guys, they'd be kind of newer in that space.
Yeah.
How do you find the reaction when you're talking to your clients about the need for content marketing in those different spaces? Like, I'm going to preempt that by saying there's always going to be a pushback of, I don't have time, and that kind of stuff. How do you handle that with your clients?
Yeah, the good news is a lot of my clients are members of these like trade organizations where they're hearing best practices, and they have coaches. So they're not just hearing it from us. They're also hearing it from these other people who are telling them that they need it, but they don't know how to do it. They don't have the time to do it. They don't really understand it. And so we're fortunate that our clients really do trust us. And it's probably because most of them came to us to rebrand, and we can talk more about that if you'd like, but that whole process is a very kind of intimate project that we're like really, they get to know us, we get to know them, and we help kind of mold their new identity, if you will, or really show their true identity. And so they develop a trust with us. So that's one of the things where when we explain to them, like, this is something that you need and why, they do usually say, okay, I'm going to trust you. You do it. You know what you're doing, and I don't know what I'm doing in that area. So take it from here. But the other thing I found that's helpful is that we walk the walk. So like all this stuff that we're recommending to our clients, we're doing it for ourselves too, so they can see it. Yes, you need to blog. Here's our blog. Yes, you need to do an email newsletter. Here's our email newsletter.
Got it.
We keep our social media up to date, all this stuff, so they can really see it in action. And if we didn't believe in it, we wouldn't be doing it for ourselves. So that always helps too.
Yeah, definitely. Alyssa, why do companies rebrand?
Well, most of the time, the companies that come to us, it starts with this. They see those beautiful truck wrap designs that are on our website.
Which look amazing, by the way.
They are, right? And I can't take credit for those. I'm not a designer. Dan, that was something that, he started this agency 25 years ago, and vehicle lettering was his thing. And he has developed that style, and it's remarkable, and it turns heads and people notice it. And that's how we get most of our business. Cool. Is people who see those pictures, or they see that truck driving down the road and they say, I need my fleet to look that awesome.
Yep.
So they see that, they come to us and they say, I want a vehicle wrap. And Dan will say, well, I would love to design a beautiful vehicle wrap for you that's effective, but you don't have a brand, or your logo isn't going to work. So if I try to design a wrap with that logo, it's not going to look the way you're expecting. It's not going to look like these. So oftentimes that's what starts the conversation. But sometimes companies are even more savvy, and they already know that they need to rebrand. And the thing is, we always say, if you're a great company with great values and great quality service, and you're doing good by your customers, but your brand doesn't portray it, people won't know that they can trust you, and they won't know what to expect. So our goal when we brand a company is to make them look like the company that they are.
Nice.
Make them look like the quality that they actually deliver. And so, it's a conversation about, you might be doing just fine with the brand that you have, but if you stand out among your competition and you reflect something good and positive and, trustworthy, you're going to grow even more. And we rebranded 3 years ago from graphic designs to Kickcharge Creative because the business had evolved a lot. Cool. And graphic designs was no longer reflecting what Kickcharge Creative is and who we are and what we do. So we rebranded, and it's been amazing. The results are amazing. And we see the same thing for all of our clients. There's a section of our website that shows how a rebrand has affected revenue, within 6 months or a year or 2 years of rebranding. And it's not certainly the only factor in that growth, but you can't argue that it plays a role in it.
Nice. So I know the answer to this question, but I'd love to hear it from the expert. Is rebranding just a matter of changing the logo?
No. And it is a process. And one of the good things about us doing it ourselves is we can say, we know that it's not easy. It's not just as easy as changing the logo. We know there's a lot involved, and it's maybe a little stressful, and it can be expensive, but we've done it. We can help you through it, and we know it's worth it because we've been there too. A brand and a logo aren't really, the same thing. Like the logo, is really the mark that goes, with your name. But the brand is more than that, and the logo is just kind of a component of it. So your brand encompasses, that logo, your name, the lettering that makes up your name, your tagline, your colors, your voice. And so it's really about your company's personality, and your values, and capturing that in something. So we even, we develop brand guides for companies that want them, that really outline, like, this is how you communicate who you are so that you can be consistent. Consistency is one of the most important things about branding, because it makes sure that, it feels authentic and genuine, and there's no confusion from one, platform to the next. You're always representing yourself the same way.
Cool, understood. So, and of course, telling that story along with the changing of the colors and the logos and that kind of stuff, making sure that the story is echoing back through, which is really important. And of course, the reason that companies go through that process is predominantly for growth, trying to acquire new customers. And you mentioned that a lot of your growth comes from the amazing vehicle wraps that are out on the streets. And again, I love when we look at KickCharge in the website, they pop off the page. The branding that Dan's put together there is really impressive. So a lot of your business comes from that medium, but of course you're prolific in content creation and getting your word out there as well. What do you think are the best ways of customer acquisition from your client's point of view? And of course that's going to vary from industry to industry, but how would you wrap around and say, look, we need to get more clients for you, these are the steps we're going to take?
Yeah. For our clients, like when you're talking about the home service industry, the biggest thing for them as far as acquiring new customers, the brand is going to be the foundation for everything. So the brand will make all of your other marketing efforts more effective. Mm-hmm. But as far as, how do you actually use it? We find that when somebody needs, a home service, it's more of a demand type conversion, a demand driven lead. So I have a flooded basement, or I have, a power problem at my house, or my air conditioner is, not working and it's 90 degrees. So if I don't already have a relationship with a company that I trust, I'm going to Google and I'm searching for my need. And I always tell my clients, like, when somebody needs you, you need to be there. You need to show up when they do that search.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's the primary focus that we're making is, yes, first of all, you need to take care of your image and your brand so that when they do find you, it's a good reaction, and your good first impression, and then they're going to pick you to call. But you also need to be there. So for us, for those kinds of businesses, we're saying invest most of your marketing budget on the digital side, because that's how people are looking for and finding a business like that. Now, of course, like you said, it can be different industry to industry, but a lot of the principles are the same. Like, once someone gets to your website, your website needs to be professional, comprehensive, up to date, accurate. If you're blogging, you're showing you're active and engaged. What are you going to think if you go to a site and you stumble across their blog and the last date on a post is 2017?
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to raise a flag.
You're skipping straight off, right?
Yeah, so you don't want people to have those questions or doubts in their mind. So same thing with Facebook. A lot of people are going to a Facebook page to check out if the company that they're considering calling is the right one for them to call, if they're legit. And if they haven't touched their Facebook page in 2 years, you might wonder, are they still there? Yeah, so you don't want to have any of those doubts. So that's why we say, it's important to maintain, that content marketing is important. Having active campaigns where you're present and you show that you're investing in, what you're portraying to people, that's going to go a long way.
Yeah, definitely.
So when they find you, it's communicating something.
I like that. And it's almost winding back away from what you're presenting to the world right now and taking it one step back and saying, okay, the people that are looking for you, what are they looking for and what are they expecting when they arrive? And if you can meet those expectations and deliver that wow factor immediately, obviously you're going to put yourself in the best possible position for receiving that lead coming through. So you've got an incredible team of people, 20 people, as we said, and all working from home at the moment in these crazy times. How did you go about growing to the size you are? Was there a headhunting kind of, I like that person, I need that person, or did you kind of grow, through native channels of advertising and that kind of stuff? How did KickCharge grow to the size that it is?
That's a good question. So when Dan started, it was just him, and then he had like one person working with him in his basement in his house, and then a second person. So then it was like, okay, we need an office. So they opened an office, and he started adding people to be able to grow the services. So it's kind of, I think in the beginning, before my time, it was like, he had the design function already happening and needed some help with that. But then it was in order to do websites. I think that was one of the early things he realized, we need to have that offering in our, capabilities here. He brought on a developer, and like Danny's been here for, I think, 10 years as our, director of development now. And so that was one of the earlier hires because it was kind of establishing like we can do that too. Right. So I think that it started, and like I said, it's before my time, with kind of like one person in each specialty.
Got it.
But then as the, we needed more bandwidth, we had to grow each of those teams. So like I can speak more specifically to the content team, of course, because that's the team I manage, and I've hired a couple of these folks. But one of the hires is somebody I knew personally from working at the newspaper, and I knew that she was in a position where she needed to find something else because of the industry situation where she was. So I said, you're coming with me.
Nice.
And it was like not she didn't have marketing experience, but she had great writing and editing experience, and I knew that she could learn because in news we always had to learn new things. So there was a lot of that happening, I think, throughout the agency, where it's like connections, people that maybe don't even know exactly everything that we need to do, but you can teach them. And that's one of our core principles now, is we have established values, core values, and it's important to us now that we won't hire anybody, no matter what their skills are, if they don't have those values.
Nice.
So they will become, and right now we haven't brought on anybody new, except there's one exception, but during this time period, because it's just, it's still a lot of uncertainty, and I want to be able to like train someone new, and we can be together in the same
sure.
office.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tricky, but yeah, we're going to make sure that when we do interview somebody and kind of really screen them, that the values that they bring to the table match up, because that's what's most important. It's about, how we have our clients' backs. That's like our biggest mantra. And if we don't bring someone on the team who can, hold that up, then, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
Yeah. So that, we've used, we've posted job opportunities like on our website, promote them on our social media. We've used like Indeed and LinkedIn, and, we get mixed results from that. I think it always works out the best when you actually know someone, or someone knows someone.
Yeah.
So that networking is always like the most productive way to recruit people. There is an agency in New Jersey that helps with staffing, that we've talked to them off and on over the years. But really, like, I think the most successful way has always been those connections that we have in the community. Yeah.
And have you predominantly grown the team internally, or do you outsource at all? Do you kind of still work with other agencies around, or do you keep those skill sets internally?
So we have one partnership, like I mentioned, the one we started 4 years ago. And the reason for that one was it's an agency that has, a focused area of expertise that they, a big team, and it doesn't make sense to try to replicate what they already are so good at. So we figured out a way to marry their expertise with ours, and we actually do work together on campaigns. So it's really not an outsourcing relationship. It's a partnership.
It's a partnership.
And so I'm like the liaison between them. So that works out really well. Besides that, we hire, we have full-time employees. We do work with a couple of freelancers so that when we need additional bandwidth, we have that flexibility. But they're, again, people that we know well and have worked with, for a long time, and we trust. So it's not just like hire somebody
random
stranger. Yeah. So because we take the quality of our work very seriously, and we want to make sure we're preserving our clients, trust and outcomes. So yeah, we do have a couple freelancer relationships, but we consider them basically part of our team. That's how strong, those bonds are.
Nice. If you lost that, Alyssa, how would you start again? So if I asked this question, because a lot of our listeners, a lot of our audience are just getting started. So they're bringing in those first clients and working their 20-hour days and all that kind of stuff. If we took the infrastructure of KickCharge away and we said, we got you and Dan together in a room and we said, okay, guys, we're going to put you in a foreign city. You have to start again. How would you go about creating that initial team and those initial clients? Like, how would you go about that?
It's a great question. I think that talking to people is really going to be the best starting point, right? So I think if you talk to people that you don't know who you can trust initially, I guess, but you'll learn over time. The more people that you talk to, I think there's always going to be some a common undercurrent, right? Some names are going to come up multiple times, and of course we have great tools to be able to use to really do our own checks and balances and looking into people's their skills and their background. Like, one of the things for me, like if I was going to say we were in that situation you just described and we needed to find like another agency to work with, I've looked at many agency websites that like don't have best practices in place for themselves, and right away I discount them, because if they don't believe that best practices are important enough to do for their own online presence, and how can you feel confident that they're going to implement them, in their campaigns and behalf of the client? So that's something that I would do if I was looking, whether it be into hiring somebody or working with another, business. There's things that I think are important, and like the things we do for our clients that we know are done like the right way. I would want to make sure I can see proof that they're doing those things for themselves.
And so then that's reaching out to them, just initial conversations and, building that network up.
I'd always come in armed with because my journalistic background, I'd have an arsenal of questions to ask them.
Nice.
I would throw them.
Free screen. Very, very cool. So what do you think is next for KickCharge? Obviously, as we're stabilizing and recovering and helping clients do the same thing, how do you see the next kind of 6 to 12 months, 3 years for you guys?
We actually had been pretty deep into a process before this pandemic that we need to resume, and we kind of hit the pause button out of necessity because of the circumstances right now. But we have been studying and following the book Traction, and it establishes an entrepreneurial operating system.
Interesting.
And so it's a great tool, and we had our management team read the book, and I actually manage this process. Company, we were having regularly scheduled meetings and going through the steps that this book outlines to set goals and establish things like our values, like that came out of this process, so that we all make sure that we're all kind of rowing in the same direction, and we have some clear goals to go after, because it will help us be focused. And we already, like I said, we had started this and we got pretty far along, but we're not done. And even though we haven't completed all of the steps in this book, it's definitely helped us already, because
Fantastic.
we've achieved, growth goals, and we're already seeing that we're like on the path to meet our targets. Like, it has you set like a 10-year target, and then like a 3-year target, and then there's 1-year goals, and then there's even these like quarterly, they call them rocks, that are like your big priorities that you have. And the last meeting we had about this right before the pandemic was establishing what those quarterly priorities would be. And I know I don't speak for myself when I say I left that meeting feeling pretty excited, because we found that you need to work on the business, right? And we're all so busy that it's hard to make time to do that. It's hard to step aside from the list of, like, I always put my clients' work first. You know, so if I'm writing a blog post for the agency, I do that at the last minute. I make sure all my clients' stuff's taken care of. It's a trap we all fall into, but it's really important to make that time for innovation and for working on the business. So we had this meeting where we established, you know, what exactly our focuses need to be, and like when deadlines for them. And I was like, this is great. Like, I finally feel like I have what I need to be able to make some headway on that stuff.
Nice.
And so that is, I think when we can get back into that, we'll just have to make some adjustments to our timelines and our deadlines. And, you know, I'm sure we'll reconvene and maybe even make a few changes to what our immediate priorities are. But
sure.
I think that we had already created that big picture for the agency, and we already know what like that future looks like. And it's really just about, you know, our client mix and how we're going to equip ourselves to be able to help more companies, you know, the way we've been helping all of our clients now.
Really
it's not huge changes. But yeah, I think it's just going to help us be more efficient to do those things. And put, we want to be in a position where we can evolve as things change in the industry, to best help our clients be kind of nimble. So this will allow us to do that. And we're looking forward to getting back into that process to get the rest of the pieces in place.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that you've pushed pause on that, which I can completely understand. What would you have done differently as a team if you knew the pandemic was coming? So let's go back to October 2019, 5-6 months before the shutdowns all started, but we know it's going to happen. How would you have tooled up, got ready? Like, what would you have done as an agency, as a business, in preparation for the way things are now?
Wow. It's a great question, because I don't think anybody really anticipated.
No, exactly. The reason I asked, just to give you a little moment to think, let me expand on that a little bit. This is a personal belief. I think the trouble's a long way from over. I think we've got another, 6-12 months at least of serious pain. So thinking about what would we have done differently in October, knowing that it's going to happen, maybe can help some entrepreneurs think differently now. Like, let's go back to October and say, okay, we know that come March, this is going to shut down. The world's going to go remote. This is going to be the situation. Okay, so let's prepare. What would we have done in that example as a team to prepare ourselves and our clients? And if we can talk that out for the next 3 or 4 minutes, maybe we can have that same thought pattern of now for the next 6 to 12 months. So thinking about that, Alyssa, like what would we have done differently in Kick Charge? What would you have been advising your clients to do going back to October 2019?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that comes to my mind is maybe outlining like a communication plan, because I think the biggest thing that happened at the beginning of this was companies scrambling to say, like, we're still here, we're doing this and this and this, and oh, we need to add a banner to our website, and oh, we should send out an email, and oh, we should, like all these kinds of things that sort of had to spontaneously happen. And I mean, my team did an awesome job of executing all of that stuff quickly on behalf of the clients. But if we would have had time to prepare for that, maybe it would have helped to have like a plan and almost like a template, because we could have used it for ourselves and we could have given it to our clients in advance to help them feel better prepared.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, what are the things we need to do? Where do we need to do them? What is our messaging going to be? And I think anything that just takes away like the stress and the uncertainty is helpful, because it allows you to act more quickly and then, obviously in a more timely manner. So maybe you're ahead of the curve when everybody's in panic mode, you have something already in place to follow. So that's probably my, as far as the things I managed, during this, that would probably be the thing that would have been the most helpful to have already prepared. And it's not too late to do that.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. The here in Australia, of course, it's probably been on the news, but we constantly face a threat of bushfires and all that kind of stuff. And there's big messages that says when the fires are coming is not the time to be preparing. So what they're talking about is, have an evacuation plan, have an emergency kit, all that kind of stuff, and have a plan. Because when the emergency comes, you can't think clearly. So taking that back into our business sense from a planning and what's next point of view, a great idea to sit down with your team. Even if your team is just yourself and your partner, or even just yourself, sit down for a quiet minute with a cup of coffee or a tea and make a plan. What are we going to do, in plan B? How are we going to react? What are we going to need to have in place? Get that down, like get it on paper, put some time and thought into it, because that's the plan that can help you stabilize when things get a bit shaky. So I think that'd be great advice. And Alyssa, you mentioned, I think we chatted before we hit record, that the team, the KickCharge team, have kind of evolved quickly into the digital space, like moving more into video meetings and, working from home kind of happened naturally. Do you think that the team culture has remained intact as everybody's, bunkered down in their homes?
Yeah, we've actually had several Zoom team meetings. So we're all together virtually, and so we can all see each other. And I think that's been a big help. We even celebrated birthdays that way.
Cool.
Normally we would, for birthdays, our tradition is kind of funny because we always pretend that it's a big surprise that we're getting together for someone's birthday, but everyone's always expecting it. So we gather
in the calendar for 2 months and
we have, one of our team members makes a customized birthday card. We secretly pass it around for everybody to sign. We either buy a dessert or someone bakes a dessert. And then we gather in the kitchen and then be like, oh, so-and-so, we need you in the kitchen for a meeting, and it's oh, surprise.
Fantastic.
And so it's just fun, but we always make a point to get together to celebrate everyone's birthday. So we've even done that via Zoom during this shutdown, and we have candles. We'll all hold our own candle up to our camera. And so I think it's a little thing, but it's something that helps. And then we have a tool we use called Slack, a chat tool. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes we complain about it, especially when we're all in the office. It can be sort of an interruption or a distraction sometimes. Those kinds of things they're a mixed blessing. It's been a godsend really now, because it still allows us to be in touch with each other. So we have a group chat where everyone on the team is in it. So sometimes just a little bit of lighthearted banter and chit chat there goes a long way to, we all feel like we're all still, connected and, kind of up to speed with what everybody's doing. So I don't think we've lost anything there. Thanks to those. I had
an interesting conversation with someone a few weeks ago who mentioned that they created a Slack channel and got their clients on it. And they thought that they were unsure how it would go, because obviously all the clients can see all of the chat, and they worried that the clients would be on them 24/7. And they reported that it was an interesting result. It eliminated the emergency phone calls. Oh my God, I need to do this now, and actually created a very good dynamic with the clients. How do you feel about that?
That's really interesting. It's not too dissimilar from a lot of the Facebook groups that exist now.
Right,
so,
yes, of course.
Dan is in those more so than I am, but he's part of these groups of HVAC company owners where they're all kind of commenting and having a dialogue, in one group. So it's not all our clients, but a lot of our clients are there, and a lot of companies who are considering, who to hire for their branding or marketing are there. So I see there's a lot of collaboration going on there, and people are pretty willing to help each other out. So I can see how in a chat environment like that, it might be similar. They feel like they're part of a family that has the same common goals. And, I think we have connected clients of ours in the past, when we think they could benefit each other. So that's kind of interesting. I guess my reservation would be how to manage if they were using that to make requests and approve things and stuff like that. That could get pretty unwieldy. But as far as just a way to kind of get the pulse on things and keep connected. It might be kind of fun.
Yeah, interesting. You mentioned that Dan's in the Facebook groups a lot, and one of the things that I talk to people often about is being in the groups where your customers or potential customers are. So you mentioned, Dan and the team at KickCharge do a lot of work in the HVAC space, and Dan is in the HVAC owners group, helping them with their branding, marketing questions, and of course, clients come as a result.
Yeah.
Does that take a lot of Dan's time, or do you have other people in the company that are also following that same mantra? Somebody's looking after the building Facebook groups, and somebody's looking after, or is Dan 24/7 in there pinging back and forth with people?
He's doing most of that, but I honestly think he enjoys it, and he's kind of become like, I mean, his name is well known among that group, and he's sort of like the ambassador in that way. So, I mean, there's some of it that we sort of share. Like, there's a couple groups that I'm involved in. It. They're not as active as the ones that he's in, but I've been able to see like people talking who need some help with something, and then we can reach out to them, things like that. But he's really taken on most of that, and I think that what's interesting is they kind of create like this brotherhood almost, like the way that he can kind of relate, because he's also a small business owner.
Yeah.
So there's that too, So I think that him and a lot of the other guys, like it's typically men. We have a lot of women company owners who are amazing. But in those groups, the bonds, like I think that they kind of relate to each other well.
Yeah, sure.
They're like similar position in their life, and so it's just something that's kind of felt naturally to him. And I mean, he'll bring us into things and like share things as needed, but he's taken on most of that responsibility right now,
and he loves it.
Yeah, he likes it. So
nice.
We let him.
Very cool. Very cool. Alyssa, I'm so grateful for your time. And as we started at the beginning of the call, on such a crazy day, I know husband and kids are downstairs, buckets and, drying things out. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And especially looking for a bit of a plan forward, where we're heading towards from here. I think that's been really valuable as well. As you're looking at your clients now and the situation in the world and I guess business owners in general, what's your feeling in terms of the next 6 to 12 months? And let's kind of finish off with how you feel like we're going to move forward.
There's so many unknowns still that, are stressful. But I think that for me, most of them are really on more of a personal note, school and the kids' sports and going to concerts and things like that. But when it comes to business, I feel good about the potential, the opportunity, I guess. I would say if I had to give like advice on that, I would encourage business owners who are still going strong now or holding out for, when things get better or whatever, to take the time and the opportunities that are coming up to like make sure you are firing on all cylinders, and use it as like a rejuvenation, because there are going to be some companies that don't make it out of this.
Yeah, definitely.
They just weren't strong enough. They just don't have the right team in place to like know how to weather the storm and to really push through. I mean, unfortunately, that's the case, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the people who are still here, I think if they, get some help on the things that they know that where their weaknesses are, and kind of shore them up now, I think when things are growing again and opening up again, they can really be poised to strong ever. I mean, that's sort of my hope for them. Yeah. And that's what we're here to help companies do that too. Nice. So I know it's going to be hard for a while, but I think maybe using this time to think about that.
Yeah.
And maybe
plan forward.
Plan for it, build up some of those areas where you might need a little more help. And then if you're still here when everybody's like, what pandemic? Like everything's hopefully back to normal. You'll be ready to go, and you can be ambitious and, be in a good spot. So
absolutely.
That's me trying to be like optimistic.
Upbeat, positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the best way forward as well. Alyssa, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and say hi. I really,
Thank you.
really did enjoy the chat, and finding out about KickCharge and how you're handling situations and working with clients. I think is invaluable. Talking about rebranding and talking about, you know, strategies moving forward. I've really loved it. I wish you all the best with your flooded basement. I hope that everybody's safe and dried out and everything returns to normal. And again, I wish you all the very best, and thank you.
It was nice talking with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Cheers. Thanks, Alyssa. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.